Luba, I have a question for you. Is there a national interest in Russia for today?
Igor, I think we should get opinion of our audience. Do you have any ideas about national interest today?
National interest, national idea in Russia, is there right now in Russia?
Be active. This is about your country. Is there any national idea today?
Okay,
Nobody has.
you have an opinions. By the way, we have something to share with you, and today we're going to tell you about morality, and we're going to tell you about what is good and what is bad actually. And this is our own project, is behalf of students, and we're going to open this book and tell you why we think actually that way.
We suppose the Bauman University is not just an educational service institution. It has a huge history that has been created by the vision of students, professors, and university leadership.
This is mission statement of Bauman University. Russian and English versions were formulated in PEBW. Bent noble causes, magnificent wisdom, strength and harmony, titanic toil and unique aspiration, brief, beautiful and meaningful. According to the mission statement, we driven by noble aspiration. For us, national ideas are the first and foremost, but not personal interests. And what is this common goal?
The Soviet Union, the country of our parents and grandparents, had its own national idea. People strove to build communism. It was a society of fully well-being and universal justice. And people really believed at these points which were presented at the moral code of communism build-up.
Tiny told his dad, "I am puzzled so. What is good and what is bad? Answer if you know." Vladimir Mayakovsky even put a mission statement for Soviet children outlining for them what is good and what is bad. But as we see now, there is no common goal and national interest nowadays.
What we are losing today? Well-being, money, bright life. What is our national interest? We turned to Google Help and found the answer. It is morality, нравственность.
We decided to discover what morality is, and first of all, we should define the terms in Russian and English. Russian term нравственность, прошу прощения, can be translated as ethics, virtue, and morality. But we have already Russian word мораль.
At the screen you see translations of this word morale, virtue, ethics, lecture or lesson. Do you see the confusion? Morality exists in both languages, Russian and English, but нравственность is present only in Russian. But we and you see the decision of this problem. At the screen, see please, it is virtue.
And here is how this term explains in the Vladimir Dad dictionary.
And we found really great interpretation of what morality is. It's brief, it's clear, and it sounds great even. It means не навреди себе, соседу и среде. When the crazy world is pushing itself towards self-destruction, this principle becomes global and relevant. And how to bring it to the world community? If it doesn't sound nice, the world won't hear us. That is what successful communication is all about.
We have solved the problem as well. It may sound like the principle of 3M, don't harm me, my neighbor and medium, or the principle of 3S, don't harm self, society, and surrounding environment. Do you feel the problem? There are many cultural and linguistic differences between nations that are needed to be overcome. And these problems are deeper than our personal interests. For example, what is PEBW? Party club or a banal discipline of choice?
So, what is virtue today? What is our starting point? It goes out that morality nowadays is almost non-existent. The lines between good and bad are washed away so much that good and evil becomes similar words. Let's take an excursion in the tunnel of ignorance and to see all this immorality for ourselves.
Okay, let's start with the urban environment. If you ever want to build a city from scratch, you should define the environment of urban, and it includes creating parks, creating parking lots, transport infrastructure, and roads. And even in the center of Moscow, we have problems with roads, and right now I'm talking about roads for people, sidewalks. And let's talk about it in terms of 3S principle. First S, workers do double work. Why can't they put tiles like on a red square? Second S, danger of falling themselves and everyone else, and disgusting view in the city. Third S, taxpayers' money are buried underground, not invested to the rest environment. And unfortunately, workers plant the idea that this is the way to work, but it is absolutely not. And at PEBW, we do everything for the first try, not wasting resources.
How much does it cost to build such underpass? At least 500 billion rubles. But these underpasses are a huge pain for people with low mobility. Elderly, parents with baby carriages, people with heavy bags, and etc. But on Tverskaya Street, in order to cross the road, you experience to go down through this underpass every day. Let's look at this situation through the 3S principle. First S. It takes a huge budget and a lot of time to build such underpass. Second S. Yes, drivers are happy, but what should do people with low mobility? And third S. Because of these underpasses, Moscow more and more looks like a highway that lead less interest to visit the city center.
Immorality has penetrated in seemingly charitable and gratuitous activity. It is about volunteering. Today, unfortunately, the meaning of gratuitous and voluntary activity is lost. The principle of 3S is violated. The first S. Different organizations and state encourage volunteering and give some privileges for this activity. For example, some universities give extra points for admission. Thus, person goes to help not because he wants to do it, but because he will benefit from it. The second S. Volunteering organizations take advantages of the fact that person want to do something good, and they strive to lower them as much as possible and attract more and more free workers. The third S. The consequence of this phenomenon is public distrust of volunteering. The desire to help sincerely and without compensations, that is what PEBW won't call to. In this case, responsiveness and kindness won't work for anyone's self-interests. What is bad on TV? Everyone who wants to relax and distract from hustle and bustle of everyday life turns on talk shows. And what do they get out of it?
Enjoy the show. These talk shows are rude, disgusting, vulgar, and these shows spoil the mood of everyone who watches them, and sensitive people may succumb to the beliefs shown on the screen and create a false value system which is based on lie and hypocrisy.
Young people adopting the shutting up and shutting down everyone who disagrees style of communication. That is why all sensible discussions turns into such talk shows. Also, because of the fact that this talk show covers the biggest audience, the shows turns into national brainwashing. PEBW wonders, why not to show something really interesting that may give you a chance to relax?
The block of commercial consists of both a jackpot of 800 million rubles and a fundraiser for medical treatment of a sick child. At the same commercials, you can see that it is the same channel TVC. And first test, the combination of these things on TV is immoral. Second test, what should people do after watching these commercials? Win a jackpot to give away money for medical treatment or what? And third is, why when someone is in need, there are people who get a huge amount of money after buying a lottery ticket? It is immorality.
One of the problems PEBW offers to think about is, has medicine stopped caring about human health, or what does the weather and the economy have to do with it? TVC has found sponsors for its weather forecasts. It's pharmaceutical companies. Now you don't have to worry about getting brain hemorrhoids from constantly thinking about what we're doing. That is true healthcare. When your doctor once again prescribes tablets, make sure that medication will cure you and not just get off symptoms of the disease.
And the queen of this immorality is now the pandemic. Vaccination of nation without proper screening or prioritization of the statistics above the national health. All this is immoral. And now let's look at this through 3S principle. First S, trusting the words of the weather presenter from the previous slide or some strange information from another source, man is encouraged to self-medication, which leads him for more illness but not recovery. Second S, prescribing the wrong medicine, each doctor makes a deal with his conscience. Does he do this according to his ignorance or deliberately? In both cases, it harms health of the patient. And third is, one of the principles of national health is to save and increase this in through nation. But in the situation of pandemic, national health is at risk.
Technologies are supposed to help us in daily life, and today we have unlimited access to the internet. We have an ability to create content and share it with others. But let's look at this in terms of 3S principle again. First is, average person in the world spends about 17.5 hours a week on social medias, and he does not communicate all that time with his or her friends, but on the contrary, he spends his time on some endless and most of all meaningless videos, having fun. And maybe it's not bad when you do it sometimes, but all the time they spend doing these things. Second is, communication between people suffers too, because person is focused on his phone, not on needs of everybody who is around him. Third is, people stop thinking broadly, and also you can see it when someone is watching to the screen and he don't understand what's going on around him, and it leads to general decrease in literacy and immorality, and as a result to reduce attention to really important problems for society. And at PEBW, students are trained to use social media for the benefit of all. Just think back how you got here.
Because of social media, a person fail with his personality and become like a bulk mass. Modern network like TikTok is an endless feed. Because of algorithms, a person chooses less and less, and finally he becomes under the control of algorithms.
Internet immorality has many manifestations. The vast expanse of social media allows people to post their views and opinions on any issues. And people don't think about whether they can even talk about such topics in public. They don't think about how their statements can affect others. This is a good illustration of ignorant formula introduced in PEBW. For example, this Instagram publication about exclusion, the novel written by Sholokov from school program, has no logical and objective justification. Hardly anyone would disagree that a high school student could understand the difficulties of literary work with the help of the teacher. But look how many people like this photo. Can the number of likes convince a person in the correctness of provided reasoning? Someone will laugh at it, but someone will agree without seeking alternative information and reasoning. Also, such publications cause swearing and quarrels at the internet, clash of opinions, which is often expressed by mutual insults, rather than adequate discussions. PEBW students follow their principles of brainstorming. They think critically, respecting conversation partners, provide arguments for their positions, and considering other opinions.
Because of the abundance of advertising and the huge influence of bloggers, teenagers think more and more about their appearance, and the desire to look nice and tidy, not bad in itself, but today's children pay too much attention for it, and they are constantly seeking some new clothes to buy, and for them, fashionable things equals expensive things, such as sneakers. You know that average pair of sneakers today costs 7,000 rubles, and you may buy 100 of rubles in our canteen using this money. But let's back to the 3S principle. First is, children have wrong values about evaluation of person. For them, a good appearance equals good person, but not like I said in well-known expression, meet by clothes and see off by mind. And also children don't spend their time to self-development, but on the contrary, they're looking for some things to buy. Second is, children encourage their friends the same attitude, and it leads to a general decrease in self-esteem among teenagers too. And third is children have wrong values, and it leads to some bad circumstances for consequences, for mankind in the long term. And at PEBW, we think that self-development is the most important thing, and the time is worth to spend on it, not wasting time looking for something fashionable. And this is what we believe in.
How did we or our parents understand what is good and what is bad? We watch cartoons and read fairy tales where we were given a clear idea of love, kindness, or even evil. But nowadays, because of unlimited access, children have some different moral principle. Because of it is the consequence of bloggers that translate all their life, given some standards of beauty, but not moral principle.
So, compare the appearance of today's children and children of the thousands, like us. The difference is obvious. You see that they look like adults, but these children are really fashionable, have really fashionable clothes, I guess, it's my opinion. But also, parents parents have a lot of influence to this attitude, because they encourages with money values promoted on social media by bloggers.
Word creation or Anglicism? I suppose everyone in childhood was fond of word creation. It is good because it develops your mind and imagination, but opposite to this idea goes modern slang. Let's look at this through 3S principle. First S, abuse of foreign words in speech of teenager distorts the creation of his speech. Second S, development of misunderstanding between people around him. And third S, our language is rich enough to express all our feelings only on it.
What is tattoo? History, style, fashion, or beauty blessed by what? It would seem. Let's look from the position of 3S principle. The first S. Wikipedia, as a standard of modern knowledge, says that tattoo is local injury of the skin, or interspersed in the fresh wound. That is local suicide, but person is not a piece of paper to draw on it. The second S. Firstly, someone rejects in general, someone doesn't like particular drawing. Secondly, three religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And they are united in their statements. Tattoo is bad. In addition, there are many atheists, and they have many opinions. The result, the separation from their neighbor. And the third is, tattoo is a banal way of self-affirmation, going back to primitive ancient era. Tattoo is distraction from purpose of person. Think about it.
First S and second S aspects are quite obvious, but third S is needed to illustrate So imagine the situation. Mother gets the tattoo of Rose because she watches TV and she really likes «Давай поженимся» show, and she likes what Роза Самитова actually says. And you know, there is a well-known expression, from the mouths of babies speak the truth. And let's imagine what circumstances could be. First one, mom changes her mind, she understands that she was wrong, and she removes the tattoo, and the psychological connection between child and mother is cemented for years. And there is second consequences, and we have two different options. First, child is thinking that it is okay to draw on yourself, and he gets a felt tip pen and starts to draw on himself, and so even on the walls, and he gets his butt kicked for it. It's obvious, and mutual understanding is lost. And second option, this situation is stuck on his mind, and after some circumstances, he became a tattoos too, or an adversary. It's really difficult to predict.
Illustration of so death of another kind. In Nazi Germany, in SS divisions, it was practiced to put the blood drop under the left arm. It is really a reasonable decision because in case of injury, doctor may help a person. But after the surrender of Nazi Germany, Elias found SS man with an extortion. But according to the statistics of PEBW, a person with a tattoo was found only once. It means that at PEBW course, students express themselves with different way.
Art is designed to expose multi-faced humanity manifestations. Let me tell you about famous performance by artist Marina Abramovich. At the screen you see rules of this performance. There are many different items on the table, and they can be applied to artists in any ways. And she is fully responsible for all actions. At first, people look at her, take photos, but then something terrible and scary is happened. People dousing her with water. She is forced to point at her a gun. It is terrible. She felt pain, but people was cruel. This example shows that people become violent and aggressive when they act under conditions of total limitlessness and impunity.
Acting immorality, a person crosses the line after which there is almost no humanity. And now let's imagine that all lines between good and bad in our society will disappear. What will happen? Will everybody kill each other? It cannot be allowed.
And yet, there is an oasis of morality, the PEBW school, which teaches global and interdisciplinary thinking, situation analysis, and synthesis of solutions, all on the platform of morality. PEBW leads to virtue, and there is the definition of engineering elite, which is presented at our course.
In the framework of engineering elite, responsible for the results of the activity is the most important word.
Because our every thought, word, and actions may affect ourselves, society, and surrounding environment.
Welcome to the PEBW course.
The flagship of communicative education in Russia.
We will not let the world go to ruin. Thank you for your attention.